Some people leave home to find opportunity. Others leave home because chaos feels familiar. Today's guest lives in a country at war. He wakes up to bomb, and yet he says he prefers it to the country he was born in. He's African, he's European, he's neither, depending on who's angry on the comment section today. This episode isn't about Ukraine. It's about tolerance for disorder, for truth, for discomfort. This is Two Continents, One Mic, and today, the mic is in Ukraine. Quick favor before we start. If you're watching this right now, chances are you've enjoyed at least one conversation on this channel. But a lot of people who watch regularly don't realize they are not subscribed. So just take 1 second and check if you hit the subscribe button. It's completely free, but it helps this podcast grow. It helps me bring better stories and reach more people navigating life across borders. If this show has ever made you feel seen or understood, subscribing is your one way of being a part of this journey. And thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. And now, let's get into the episode. John, welcome to the podcast.
Tony, that was a great introduction.
I had to take my time to comb through, and I ran into your page. I was like, he's very interesting. You always start your video with, I am South African. How do you say it again?
I'm a South African living in Ukraine.
Well, you should say that on the podcast. Eh? You're a South African living in Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm a South African living in Ukraine. Yeah, and I mean, I get a lot of pushback. So I mean, I'm new to TikTok, right? So I've been doing it for a few months, and the first video that I got like traction on was like there was a bunch of South African guys caught here in Ukraine in the war, and they were poached from South Africa into the Russian army, and they didn't know that they were going to come. So I just felt like I had to say something about it, right? So I made this video, and I said, don't go to Russia because it's not a good deal. And that video went viral. It got like, I think it's now about over 300,000 views. So yeah, so that's how I knew. If I said I'm a South African living in Ukraine and I spoke a little bit about South Africa and a little bit about Ukraine, I knew that some people were interested in it. So,
yes.
So that's how I got going with the TikTok things.
I love the intro. Like I think that was probably what caught me. I was like, wait, scroll back.
Yeah.
So before we get into opinions, let's lock facts, right, John? So, John, take me back to South Africa before you moved to Ukraine, before the United Kingdom. What was growing up in South Africa like for you?
So I think the thing about Africa and South Africa is, I'm now 41 years old, right? I'm not, so growing up in South Africa has been, I think it's been through many transitions, right? So the period I grew up in South Africa, I think it was a great childhood, because so I was born in Kempton Park, which is just on the outskirts of Johannesburg.
Okay.
And we lived there for 8 years, and then we moved to Durban. My father is an aircraft engineer, so he got a job at the Durban International. Oh, Durban wasn't international at that time. Durban Airport. And so we moved to Durban, and then from the age of 8 to 12, I grew up in a small place called Amanzimtoti. And I don't know what you know about Durban, but Durban is super tropical, right? So everything is super size. Like the spiders are like 10 times bigger than the spiders normally are. And, there was monkeys there. There was tropical. There was mango trees growing in the garden. avocado trees, papaya, yeah, bananas. So growing up in Natal was a great experience because you were a little kid and you were outdoors every day. You didn't wear shoes. You had phones all the time in your feet. I don't know. I think a lot of guys can relate to this, right? So yeah, I mean, it was a great childhood, and then we moved back to Johannesburg, and then my parents divorced, and then things were. I was questioning a lot of things, like I was bullied at school. And then when I got the chance to leave South Africa, my dad said to me, "Do you want to go to university or do you want to go abroad?" And I said, "Okay, I'll go abroad because that sounds more interesting than going to university." So off I went to the UK when I was 20.
Wow. That's a long time. So from 20 to now, that's a long time from home. Well, even though you visit though, but that's a long time that you've been out of
Yeah, so 20
South
years
Africa.
now.
What was it like when you joined the British Army?
So when I went to the UK initially, I didn't join the army. So
Okay.
I did a lot of labor jobs. I was like doing construction. I was cutting lawns for the council, for the local council in London. And then I got a job in a hotel. So then I went to live in a hotel and I was a waiter and a barman and all that stuff. And then my visa. So at that time, they were still working holiday visas for South Africans. So we could get 2-year working holiday. It changed completely. So when I
Yeah.
went, we had 2-year working holiday visas. And then it was 1 year, and now that doesn't exist apparently anymore. So anyway, so yeah, so my visa was going to run out, so I had to figure out a way to stay longer. So one of the options was to join the British Army.
I think it's something now that is happening. I don't know if it's still happening in America, but that's one of the ways to like for like immigrants in America to, be able to join the US Army, and I think you get a
Yeah,
citizenship
I
automatically
mean,
in America.
I don't think it's anything new. I think it's been happening for hundreds of years.
Mm.
Like so initially we're mercenaries, right? So you can sugarcoat it as much as you want, but like Africans joining a foreign military force, we are mercenaries, right?
Yeah.
And South Africa actually has an anti-mercenary law. So I actually
Really?
broke the law. I broke the law in South Africa. Um, yeah, South Africans are not allowed to join foreign military. Foreign
Huh.
military countries or units or whatever.
Well, this is going to make me pivot into this because this is like what you said, kind of like what brought you into the limelight on TikTok is, so how are the South Africans that are joining, how are they able to join the Russian army?
Well, I mean, so when I joined the British Army, it was 2007. So there were two conflict zones going on. So there was Iraq
Mhm.
and Afghanistan. So they were recruiting like mad from the Commonwealth, right? So we had a lot of guys from Africa, right? So we had Ghana, we had a guy from Cameroon, I think we
Mm.
had Nigerians, we had I don't know, I can't remember, but at the time there was about 20 South Africans in my unit. So we were a big group of guys, so all white South Africans in our unit, and it was a sort of, for me it was actually good because it gave me a sense of belonging. We were 20 guys in our unit in the British Army and the Scottish Regiment. I don't understand anything that Scottish guys are saying to me, but we took care of each other, these 20
Yeah.
guys, we were good friends, like it was a sense of brotherhood, like it was something I longed because my my dad, my uncles, they all got war stories to tell from Angola, from Namibia, the time when South Africa was during that period of time we were on the border there in Angola. So
Yeah.
they all had war stories, and obviously in '94 that all changed, and then so I couldn't associate with them. So for me, I wanted to experience war. I thought it was a good idea. Thinking back now, maybe not so good idea, but at the time, you're young and you're full of testosterone. So I thought it was a good idea to go to the British Army because I'll get some experience, I'll get some war stories, I will get citizenship. So that was the main goal, was to get citizenship, British passport, and then and have a good time. Because the army it is actually fun. Whether for not for everybody, but for me it was okay.
I did want to join the military at one point. I just never got around to it. I don't know. And here in America, there's recruitment centers everywhere. I just think, I don't know if it was just because there was so many options, different branch, and they just all approached you differently. You're like, I'll choose one. And eventually I just never did. I mean, I'm still open to it, but not at this
Yeah,
time.
so if you had to ask me again today, I would say if you could find another way to get citizenship or to
Mm-hmm.
get your foot into a country, I would say the military way it's not the best way. Like
No.
it's better you go and study and you get some degree in finances or in medicine or something like that, and you get sponsored. Like I think that's a much better way because when you leave the army, you're left on your own. So now you've been I was in the army for 6 years, right? So that's quite
Mm-hmm.
a long time. So I
Yes.
joined when I was 22 and I left when I was 27. So at 27, I came out of the army and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like I've been firing guns for the last 6 years. So how do so then I went to work as a bouncer.
No
So
way.
yeah, so then I went off and I worked as a bouncer in Scotland.
I think that's one of the realities that a lot of the veterans are facing today, all over the world. When you leave the military is like a family, like a community. And when you're
Yes,
separated from that, if you don't have a plan after, you're kind of like
yes,
in limbo, trying to figure out what you want to do next with your
yeah.
life.
But I
Yeah.
mean, you could make a career out of it as well. I mean, the British Army offers great pensions. If you do 25 years, some guys love it. Some guys love the military lifestyle. I didn't. I just struggle with authority.
I can tell. So, one of the things you said online that shocked people was one of the reasons you like Ukraine is because it's not too civilized. Most people want more civilization. What are they missing that you found in the rougher parts of the world?
So most South Africans, I mean, since I would say, I read some statistics in the last 10 years, I think it's up to 1 million South Africans that left South Africa. So, and majority of them are white South Africans. So if you look at the statistics, it's actually crazy amount. It's actually higher than what Ukraine is. So Ukraine lost 10 million. There's 10 million refugees in the world right now from Ukraine. Most of them are in Poland, but the population was 56 million before the war. So now it's about 36 million. So it's round about there. So in South Africa, so the statistics for people leaving South Africa, because people left because of the crime, right? The crime, things were decaying, so they left. So a lot of South Africans went to Dubai, they went to the US, they went to Canada, they went to I don't think the UK is luxury at all. Like majority of UK is living in poverty as well, if you ask me. But we tolerate it, right? Because that's what South Africans do. We tolerate, or Africans. I think Africans are
Yeah,
good at tolerating difficult times.
I agree.
Yeah, so majority of my South African people, they went to Dubai, which is luxury. They went to the US, which is luxury. They went there for better life. They want this luxury. Australia, New Zealand. Me, on the other hand, I like it when it's a little bit rough. Like let's go, let's go through the because Ukraine is a developing country. It's not a third world,
Mm.
but it's a developing country, and I'm actually enjoying going through the process of them developing. Like for me, it's interesting. Like when I came here 8 years ago, everything was in Russian and Ukrainian. So that they started
Oh,
switching over from Russian to Ukrainian after the revolution in 2014. So things started switching. The menus started. There was more menus in Ukrainian.
Ukraine.
There was more Ukrainian in the train stations, wherever. So, but at that time there was no English. So this is 6 years ago. There was no English. Like I would walk into a restaurant, and there was no English menu. I would go to the train station. I would not be able to understand, like what's on the board, where to go. Like it was fun for me. It was like an adventure, right? Like it was like an escape room. You had to figure out how to do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I like it when things are not too developed, because the thing is, people get very complacent. And I don't want to be complacent. I don't like this feeling of being, okay, so I've made it now. I'm comfortable.
You like the thrill, the adventure.
I guess so. I don't know, but
Well,
it's
so with that, now I feel like to ask this, you feel like that growing up in South Africa is what prepared you for a life in Ukraine, or was it just your experiences through
so
life?
so the UK is a tough place, right?
Hmm.
Because there's so many foreigners in the UK, and everybody is fighting for work. Everybody is fighting for, like, it's a bit of a battle in the UK, to be honest. I just didn't feel special in the UK, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like I was just another foreigner, you know.
Yeah.
And it was fine, like it was fine. I had a lot of friends, and it was good for many years. I worked as a bouncer, that was interesting. South African working as a bouncer in Scotland, and I'm not a big guy as well, like like
I know.
so-
Your military background, definitely. That was something that was a hidden gem. So hopefully
yeah.
you didn't get too many people that tried you while you were working as a bouncer.
I would say that I like Europe. Like you live in the US. I don't think I can live in the US. I've been there a few times, and for me, the US is it's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, and they're not scared to lift their opinions in the US, right?
Yes. Yes. We are very sensitive here. Very.
It's like a
And
balance. I don't understand the US, to be honest. It's like people are controlled, but yet they have this freedom of speech. Like
yeah, just enough. You just get just enough freedom.
yeah,
And I think with it, the US being, I tell people each state in the US is like its own country, you know?
yeah.
So the people there, they have their own mindset, they have their own culture there. So when something is slightly different from what they're used to, they're very quick to vocalize it, and it goes far very fast. So
I like Florida. I think if I had to move to the US, I'll try Florida. I mean, I don't think you're far from Florida. Florida.
no, depending, I could drive there 3 hours, and
Yeah, yeah.
but if I was going to like Miami, which everybody likes to go to, that's a 10-hour drive, but
Was
one
it
hour
okay?
flight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been to Miami, and I've been to Fort Lauderdale,
Yes.
and that's okay. That's all right. I mean,
That's like vacation spot though. Like it's
that's
just
like
on
Durban,
vacation
it's like
constantly. Yeah. So
yeah.
paint me a picture of what Ukraine like is today. You know, waking up to bombs, curfews versus you said Uzhhorod doesn't have any curfew. In Uzhhorod,
Ushgorod, yeah, yes,
Uzhhorod. Yeah.
Ushgorod, yeah. So,
So
so I used to live in Kiev. So when I first came to Ukraine, 2018, I went to Kiev, which is the capital. And the reason why I came to Ukraine is because I went through a tough relationship in the UK,
okay.
like a very tough relationship, and I had to do something different. I also heard a lot about the Ukrainian girls, right? Like a lot of, like on my TikTok now and then there will be a comment like, "What's the girls like in Ukraine?" Because they got a bit of a reputation here, like the Russian, Slavic, Ukrainian,
Yeah.
Belarusian, like for being very beautiful, right?
Mhm.
So I had to come and check it out. I met one guy. He was actually a guy that lives in Las Vegas, and he
Mm.
has a Ukrainian wife.
Okay.
And that was the first Ukrainian I met was his wife. Her name was Tatiana. And I stayed with them in their house for a bit, and I just saw how she was taking care of this, my friend Larry.
Mm.
And I was shocked, man. I was like, man, she was like cooking this amazing soups, and she was in the kitchen, and she was just like amazing housewife, like really like amazing. At the time, I thought I wanted to get married, but that has changed over the years. So I thought, okay, maybe I want a Ukrainian wife as well, like.
Yeah.
So I came to Kiev, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check out the dating scene here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, like, because my business started doing a little bit better. So I had some, because I have an online business, right? So
Mhm.
you can. So that was my intention. My intention was to live anywhere I want. So I started an online business, and I sell things on Amazon and stuff like that. So I went to Ukraine, and I was planning on staying 2 weeks, and I went there in June to 2018, midsummer, and I went on Krishatik. Krishatik is like the main street in Kiev.
Okay.
And I was blown away. I was like, holy cow, like, look at all these girls. They are all beautiful. They are all sweet. So, me going there to just window shop, I ended up staying 3 months. It's like 3 months I stayed there, and I made some great friends as well. There used to be a great expat community here in Ukraine as well,
Hmm.
like before the war. Like there was guys from Sweden, there was a lot of Americans, there were British guys, Germans, Dutch guys, and we had like a little group. So every weekend we'll meet up in this place, and it was great. Like it was I really like 2019 and 2020 was for me the best time in Ukraine.
That was during
Um,
COVID, right?
yeah, it was during COVID, but I mean, because it's not so regulated here, that everything was still operating in an illegal manner. Like
Yeah.
instead of entering the front door of a restaurant, you'll go through the back door and walk through the kitchen, while everybody's cooking. So and I felt great. I was like, yeah, Ukraine is a free country. Like everywhere else it's locked down, everybody else is controlled, everybody's sitting in their house. But
Yeah.
here in Ukraine it was okay, really. Like I was free. Mm, I mean, it still had restrictions and whatever, but it wasn't as strict as the rest of the world. I remember saying I used to be more of a Instagrammer before, but I think TikTok is actually working better for me. But so I used to make these videos and I say, look, Ukraine is a free country. Like, why would you not come and live in a free country? Like, look, it's COVID. So anyway, I had a great time, and I did a dating scene. I met, and it was great. I felt good. Gyms, like I have a good routine here. I go to the gym. The gyms are great here, by the way. The food is great. The restaurants are so beautiful. The bars, it's like 5-star treatment for African prices, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Really? It's that cheap?
It's cheap, yeah. They've got high inflation here, so they've got, I think it's about 14% inflation now.
Oh,
So you need to be careful because sometimes you can buy something that's way overpriced. Like, for
okay.
example, like branded clothing or electronics or cars, for example, that's quite expensive here. But so it's in South Africa, it's the same. But food is cheap here. I
Cheap.
mean, I've stopped drinking alcohol, but booze is quite cheap here. And then you'll just have a great time. You go out on a Friday night, you'll get you'll go to like a 5-star restaurant. You'll be sitting there with models. Um, it's like the check comes and it's like half the price, 3 times cheaper than what it is in the UK.
Not the
So for me, it
US.
was a great deal, right? So
So you're not a tourist anymore over there. You
no,
you're
no, no.
you're you're like you're embedded in this society now. Because
I figured out the system here. So now it's so easy for me here, right? So if I have a problem, I can solve it. Like you can do everything on your phone here. They've got a really good, like all the apps, everything is on your phone. You
wow.
can literally solve any problem you want just using your phone. So I figured out how to survive here, right? Like if I need internet, if I need water, if I need groceries, if I need a cleaning lady, if I need to get my car fixed, I can get it all solved here. Like I know exactly what to do here now. So that's sort of what's keeping me here because it's like I've learned the culture. Yeah.
So I think that prompts me to ask that question where you said South Africa and Ukraine share something unusual, the ability to solve problems with little to work with.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's on Afrikaans. So my first language is Afrikaans,
Hmm.
which is similar to Dutch, right? So in Afrikaans we have a saying, "A boer maak 'n plan," which means so a boer means a farmer. So a farmer makes a plan. So in South Africa we have this mindset like because surviving in South Africa. So my ancestry dates back 400 years in South Africa.
Okay. It's a
Like
long time.
I've traced back. I've done a family tree, and I found that my grandma's great grandfather came from the Netherlands in
Mhm.
1657 to work in the Orff village in Cape Town. So for them to survive in Africa, you have to make a plan. You have to survive. You have to
Yeah.
solve problems. So we've got this embedded. Like I think the whole of Africa, like you have to solve problems because things are not given. It's not a socialistic economy like Canada or the UK, like Germany. You have to survive there, right? So us Africans, we've got this mentality of surviving. So we can go to any country and we can survive there. And I think that's what gives us a little bit too much confidence sometimes
Yes.
to migrate, right? So we don't prepare anything. We just arrive. And then we're like, I figure it out once I get there, right?
You are spot on that, and I think that's one of the things about the podcast is like we just pack our bag and it's like we're
We're gonna
we're
go.
moving. When we get there, we'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
most times we do, most times we do, and sometimes not so
It doesn't
good.
work out. And that's a
Yeah.
shame, because that's when we get bad reputation, because
Absolutely.
because these guys they can't find their feet and then they end up in some shady stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like you went the right way. Some people they migrate the wrong way. You have a tourist visa and now you're staying in the country for 2 years. How are you going to survive? It's quite challenging.
Yeah.
You run into those problems and then now you're doing, like you said, something shady because you don't want to go back home, because what are you going to tell them?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like you go home, what's at home for you? And always, these first world countries, they give you enough to give you hope to
Yeah.
stay longer, right? You're like, okay, things are gonna get a little bit better
Good.
soon, But
Eventually.
but some of us, we never find it, and then I've met one homeless black guy here he was living in Kiev. I don't know the story of this guy, but he's a homeless guy living in Kiev, and he's from Africa, and I don't know how he ended up there. Like, you should have him on your podcast. I'm sure he has interesting stories.
Sister. Well, if he's homeless, it's gonna kind of be difficult. It might be a street
I hope
interview.
he's all right. I hope he's all right because, Kiev is not doing so well these days.
Okay.
Like, I'm very fortunate to live where I'm living. Like, I purposely moved to the west because in Kiev it's dangerous there. It's not like when I went to South Africa. I'm
Yeah.
jumping here a little bit, but when I went to South Africa, a lot of South Africans asked me, "Is there still a war going on there?" Because we have our own troubles in South Africa. We have our own, so, and I can say to your audience that the war is it's getting worse. Like, this war is not getting any better. So I'm hoping that this homeless guy in Kiev, wherever he may be, I hope he's all right, because it's not easy. Kiev is not doing well. So
It's interesting that you said that, because I have a couple Africans that they're gonna come on the podcast, and they're in Russia, and they paint this picture as if, like, in Russia, they make it look as if there's nothing going on. Like, they're like cut off from the outside. Like, to them, it's like they're just living their life just freely, like in Central Russia. So it's quite interesting, the contrast.
yeah, so I travel quite a lot. So in Ukraine, there's actually martial law here in Ukraine. So the men are stuck here. So if you're between the ages of 18 and 60, you cannot leave Ukraine. So there's
Wow.
been guys stuck here for 4 years now they've not been outside Ukraine, because if they go to the border, they'll get arrested. So I'm lucky enough. I can go, like I should show my British passport and I can go. And I'm very fortunate. And when I do travel, I meet Russian people, right? Like, I was in Barcelona, I was in Turkey, and I do meet Russian people there. And for me, it's a little bit weird meeting, because I'm like in the middle of this, right? I don't understand everything. I don't understand, like, this obviously it didn't happen overnight. It took many
No.
years for to get like this, right? So I'm like in my bubble here in Ukraine. I'm earning good money, so I have like my own little reality I've created here. So I'm not really embedded into the difficulties and the struggles and the, like the war and all that stuff. Like I can go wherever I want, I can go. But I meet these Russians when I go abroad, and it's always a bit weird because I want to say to them, like, how do you live with yourself knowing that, what's happening in Ukraine? Because I've seen it here. It's pretty bad, like, how do you accept your government to do what they're doing? And then I just think to myself, and then I'm like, you're right. They're probably not aware. They've got their own problems. So they're being suppressed. Like, they're not seeing the full internet there as well. If you don't have a VPN, you can't access most of the platforms. So I don't judge them, like, it's like, if people are living in Russia, then it's like in South Africa, South Africa also has a very dark history, so
Yeah.
So, and what? Am I a bad person because of what happened in South Africa 30 years ago, 40 years ago? No, I mean, I was a little kid. I'm innocent. Like, I don't know what's, like, it's political stuff. So that's the thing I'm feeling these days, like this political tensions in the world, like Trump now with Greenland, for example. Like, come on, let's just live in peace, right? Like, let's
I
just get on,
know.
right?
I know. I honestly still trying to understand the theory around that. And now it's like the allies that we have are now like, okay, what are we doing here? It's just everybody should just like relax, calm down.
Yeah, I mean, the basic guy, the guy like me and you, we just want to have good food. We want to
Enjoy life.
have a roof that don't leak water. Like we're living somewhere where there's livable. We can enjoy a beer now and then.
Yes.
We can have a steak or a barbecue, a braai in South Africa. We call it a braai.
I never had
And
that. I keep hearing about that braai.
yeah, man, that's like, I meet a lot of Nigerians, and every Nigerian I meet has a cousin or uncle or somebody living in South Africa.
Yeah. I think for Nigeria, South Africa was sold to us as like it's like how would I say this? The like Nigeria is interesting, right? But South Africa was like, okay, if you want to go to a place that's it's almost like Europe, right? Go to South
Yeah,
Africa. That's where it's the
yeah,
closest. Go over
yes,
there.
yeah, yeah.
But I think Rwanda is starting to take that position now these days.
I don't understand how South Africa is as strong as what they make out it is. I think there must be other countries in Africa that's the same as South Africa. Like, so,
A lot of South African, I mean, you have like big companies, that go into all those other countries, and market that to those countries. So that's been felt like, oh, MTN, DSTV, those are
yeah, yeah,
large
yeah,
corporations. And you're like, oh, this is over there. Let me go check what's going on in South Africa. And I
yeah.
mean, it's,
Well, I was in Johannesburg, so I was in home in December, right? My stepbrother got married, so I went home. I went to Johannesburg. I went to Hillbrow in Johannesburg, and man, I can tell you what, it looks like the rest of Africa. Like,
I
it's
saw the
like,
video. I saw your
yeah.
video.
I mean, I wanted to get out of the car. I wanted to walk around. I wanted to like explore a little bit more, but I just don't feel safe there. Like I just don't. You don't see any whites there, so I don't think I drove through there and I showed the Dutch guy what it looks like in Johannesburg. But you go through Hillbrow, you go through Alexander, which is the township in South Africa, and close
Mhm.
to Sandton, right? And then very poor some areas in Johannesburg not doing too great, in my opinion, because I think it's just the infrastructure is neglected. Like the traffic lights are not working. Like it's
Yeah.
just everybody is out to survive there. But then you drive 15 minutes and then you get to certain parts in Johannesburg, and then the walls are like 20 feet high. There's security. There is like this big fancy trees, oak trees. I don't know what to call these trees, but the rich areas, and it's super
Yeah.
rich. Like the division in South Africa is incredible, and I get a lot of comments on my TikTok that you are, like you are white and you are, you guys got the farms and all. My family don't have any farms. Like I'm telling you, it's not as what they make out it is. There's a small percentage in South Africa that's still holding the wealth, and it's sad for me to see that somebody can live such a luxury life, and then 15 minutes down the road, there's people still living in shacks.
Yeah.
That's for me the hardest part, going home and seeing that. Like I don't enjoy seeing that, really.
I think that's just like almost in all of Africa today. You have the certain elites, that own all the wealth, and that's why I tell people this. Like in Africa, you can work as hard as you can, but if you're not in the circle of the elite, you're not going to
Yes,
advance. Your social status
yes,
is going to be the same. Whereas when you're in Europe or in America, like in America, now if you work hard,
yes,
it's like 1 + 1 = 2. You will get your hard work will pay you. You can change your status.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's one of the biggest difference, and it's something that we need to fix back home.
I hope they can. I hope they can, because I don't know what it's going to take. They have to change something. We cannot blame the past forever.
Yeah,
And we cannot
absolutely.
keep doing things that don't work, so there has to be change somehow. And that's what I appreciate about Ukrainians. In 2014, Ukraine was about to join European Union, like there was big votes were coming up for it. And then Putin pulled in that president at that time. I think his name is Shevchenko or something like that. I can't remember. Putin pulled him in and he said, listen, Ukraine cannot join the European Union. Ukraine has to keep ties with Russia. And then there was 1 million protesters that went in Kyiv on Maidan Square for 3 months from November to February. And I mean, it's cold. That's a cold period. Like right now, it's -7 outside, right? It's freaking free. It's freezing, right? So for 4 months, 3 to 4 months, those Ukrainians, 1 million Ukrainians went on the streets and they protested and they were fighting the police. And there was over 100 civilians killed by sniper, by like seriously, that's what happened in Maidan. They were fighting for their freedom, right? And then they managed to push out that president, and he got expedited to Russia. And then Ukraine, for me, I think that it became the symbol of like fight. If you don't agree with your government, if you don't like how things are going, like what's happening in Iran right now, like I really admire people that has the strength to go out on the streets and say, listen, I'm not happy with how things are going. I want change. And
Yeah.
they do whatever it takes and they fight it through, because in Belarus, they tried to do a revolution during COVID and they failed because the people couldn't stick it through. They couldn't fight through it. So I don't know. I don't know if Africa, certain countries in Africa needs the same, like.
Yeah, but I feel like they've tried that. I mean, in
I don't know.
Tanzania, in
Yeah, it's
Uganda,
hard. It's a
it's
hard
yeah,
question,
it's
so.
we don't know. We just hope one day, I don't know if it's gonna be in this lifetime, things will change, it will look better for the next generation that's coming. They'll be a little
Yeah.
bit
I think that's the
optimistic.
future, right? That's the future, is the new generation. Like the new generation, they're still getting influenced by the older generation, because the older generation, they can't let go, right?
At
Because
all.
they went through struggles themselves and they remember the past. But the new generation, it's very important that like what I like about South Africa now is I see a lot of kids playing and it's mixed color,
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I didn't see that. But now I'm going home and I see like kids playing and it's mixed, right? And that's a good sign. That's what South Africa needs, because whether we like it or not, South Africa is a rainbow nation. Like
Yes.
we have everybody there, right?
I learned I had a Ubi. He's a Indian South African on the podcast, and he gave me so much insight. I didn't know that South Africa had classified into those 4 groups in South Africa: white, Indian, black, and then the mixed race. I never knew that, and it was
Yeah.
very interesting learning that. So, wow, like it is
I think
very
it's even
insightful.
more. It's more groups actually. Like
Really.
it's more. Yeah. Like we have 11 languages, right? So that's already 11 cultures. And then you've got the mixed races, and then you've got the indigenous people, the Bushmen, the Khoisan. They're the original South Africans. They were there before the Bantus migrated from the north to the south
Oh,
because of tribal warfare. And then the Khoisan was pushed to the west, where it's more desert, right, to survive there, because they didn't have the spears. Like the guys, the Bantus from the north, they came with modern military
so
equipment, like spears and shields, which was effective, right, because
yeah.
yeah, it was effective, and they managed to push the Khoisan out of the east of the country and occupied a big part of the Natal and the Zulu empire. I don't know, Zulus, and then the whites came, obviously, and then things got even more interesting.
So, you got a lot of hate, especially from South Africans supporting Russia. Because you.
I do, yeah, and I think it's propaganda, really. So number one, Africa is rich in resources, right?
Yes.
The whole of Africa is rich in resources. Like, we are a pretty well-off continent. Like, we don't have lack of anything, I
No,
think.
it's everything.
Like,
Literally.
we have a lack of management. I think that's our problem. But in terms of resources, so it was like in Afghanistan. So I went to Afghanistan, right? So with the British Army, I did 2 tours. I went to Iraq and I went to Afghanistan.
Mm.
And for me, Afghanistan was a very interesting place. You know, like, Afghanistan for me was like going back 1,000 years in time. Like, especially where I was in Sangin, which is Helmand province. It's like the very agriculture, very rural
Yeah.
area of Afghanistan. So I mean, those people live in very primitive
Wow.
circumstances. And I don't even think they have internet, to be honest, in that area. Maybe in Kabul, but so so one man will have like many wives, and you have to like exchange like poppy seeds or opium to marry the daughter. Like, that's their exchange, you know. That's like their form. Like in South Africa, we have this labola, right, which is like you give the father cows and
Hmm.
cattle and money and whatever to marry his daughter, right?
Yeah.
So in Afghanistan, they have a similar concept, which is opium. So they do things on opium. So, anyways, Afghanistan is an interesting place because it's got a crazy history. You know, like the Soviets were
Mm.
there, they failed. The Allies came. You know, the West, the Americans came there, the Brits, the Canadians, like the whole NATO force came there, and they failed. But anyway, so my point is, during the war with Soviet Union, the Americans were supplying the Afghanistani Taliban with weapons, right, to fight the Russians.
Yeah.
So that was the same situation in South Africa. Like, the Russians were supplying not the Russians, it's the USSR. They were supplying the freedom fighters, you know, the ANC. They were supplying the guys that were pushing from Angola. I don't know the whole history, but they were supplying all the money and the weapons to push over the white government in South Africa so they can get the resources. They can get the gold, they can get the silver, they can get all the resources in South Africa. That's the only reason why they trained the ANC. And that's the only reason why they were supplying. And now in my TikTok comments, it's like the Russians were our friends during apartheid time. And I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's as what they think it was. You know, the Russians, this USSR did it. And remember, Ukraine was part of the USSR. So
Yes.
initially it was the Ukrainians also training the ANC and also supplying, you know, like supplying. So saying that, oh, we support Russia in this war in Ukraine because what Ukraine also was part of the training of the ANC because that was the USSR. And number one, they weren't your friends because they just wanted your resources.
Yeah.
So when I see this in my comments, I'm like, okay, this is obviously a lack of knowledge. You know, like, this is you just echoing what you're hearing from the news. And I don't like it, you know, because there's people suffering here in Ukraine. There's people suffering all over the world.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm here in Ukraine and I see the suffering here. And I see little kids living in bombs, you know, like going to school in bomb shelters.
Wow.
You know, like, there's no electricity, there's no heating, it's -12 outside, and it's all people. And from a human perspective, that's all I care about. Like, from a human perspective, can we not live in peace? You know, like why all this political hatred? You know, like, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but you see, saying that now I have to drag you back now into this because you also made one statement, right? That, well, first of all, do you feel like you supporting Ukraine, your South African brothers and sisters, they're gonna feel like you're turning your back on them, like in saying that?
So my biggest concern is if this thing escalates,
Hmm.
like if we have another world war, because for me, I don't think it's off the cards. Like, I didn't, before this war started in Ukraine, nobody knew that it was going to be at this level, right? Like,
Yeah.
trust me, I was in Kyiv. I was there when the war started. I saw what happened when the war started. It was a disaster. There was no cash in ATMs. There was no more petrol in the garages. there was traffic jams all the way from the east to the west. So for hours and hours and hours, you sat in traffic. You didn't know. It's chaos. War is chaos, right? So
Yeah.
my biggest fear is so because of this war in Ukraine, I feel anything can happen. Like, I am not content anymore. I'm not gonna say to you that the world is sunflower and roses,
Yeah.
because we are not. The world is not like that. Doesn't matter how you look at it. That's so. My concern is BRICS versus NATO,
Okay.
and South Africa is part of BRICS. And if you look at my TikTok comments, there's a lot of comments. We are part of BRICS. We are, yeah, la 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 la. And I'm okay with it. Like, I think competition is healthy. Like, competition is healthy, right? Like, the Chinese, like, there's more cars getting sold in South Africa now from China than there is from the Asia, from Japan, from US, from
Yeah.
Europe. So the Chinese they're not a force not to reckon with. I think they're actually doing a good job. Like, you look at their cities, it's pretty well developed. Like, I think you spoke to some people in China, right?
Yes. They can't stop raving about how futuristic China is.
Exactly. Yeah. So BRICS, I think BRICS it's a healthy thing. I think I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I feel like NATO, like, I was part of NATO, right? Like, I went to
Yes.
Afghanistan in the name of NATO, right? I even got a medal for my services in Afghanistan. So, and I don't really understand what we did in Afghanistan. Like, I went there mostly to experience the culture and experience, like, I didn't go there to, like, like, to be a killing machine. Like, that was not my goal. Like, I just wanted to see what it's like in Afghanistan, and that was my opportunity to go with the British Army, right?
That is so funny. So I don't know what I went to do there. I just went for culture.
And I enjoyed it. It was interesting. So I don't agree with NATO as well. Like, is NATO a good thing? I think yes, because it's managed to keep the peace for all this time since, like, the Second
Yeah.
World War. So yeah, maybe it's a good thing. But can NATO be split up into maybe smaller sections? Maybe the old Soviet countries, they blame the reason here in Ukraine, they blame it for, okay, so Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and that's too close on Russia's border. But what about Finland? What about Estonia? They're part of NATO, Latvia. They're part of NATO. They're on Russia's border. So why is there not a war there? That's how I
That's interesting.
contradict that statement, because I don't think it's NATO. So what they should have done is they should have not called these old Soviet countries NATO. They should have called it something else under the umbrella of NATO. Then maybe this war in Ukraine would have happened. Like, who knows? But it is what it is today. So South Africa is part of BRICS, and I think it's maybe a good idea. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the whole point of BRICS is and what their agenda is. Yeah.
So after the war, you said you wanted white South Africans to come rebuild Ukraine.
So yeah, so I mean, there was a period of time through Gaza, right? So the Israelis hired these planes, right, and they flew these Palestinians to South Africa illegally, and just dumped them in South Africa and said, "This is your problem." Yeah, like, really, there was 2 airplanes.
So
that
there are
came from
Palestinians now that live in South Africa.
I don't know what I don't follow that story, so I don't know what's happened to them. But there was about 300 Palestinians that arrived in South Africa with no documents. So I said my solution was, okay, keep the Palestinians there. South Africa is it's a big country. South Africa is not as big as Nigeria, but I mean, we have a big country. So I'm surely we can fit in the Palestinians in somewhere in South Africa. And then I was like, okay, well, so, and Oranje. So have you heard about this town called Oranje in South Africa? So there's this town in the northwest of South Africa. It's a whites only town.
Okay.
So they've decided to break free from the South African government. So they have their own currency. It's a small town. There's like 2,000 people living there. Maybe there's more. I'm surprised you've not heard about it, because it's actually this big publicity around them.
Rania.
Like, some people agree with it, some people don't agree with it. I don't judge. Like, do whatever makes you happy, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you want to start a town that's for your culture only, do it. Like I don't care, right? It's not going to change my life. So Oranje
Mhm.
is there. It's whites only, right? So it's whites and Afrikaners. So they only allow Afrikaners to come and live there. But all the laborers, like everybody that does construction there, all the plumbers, everybody is white. So in the rest of South Africa, we have cheap labor, right? So, you know, majority black guys that's like doing the odd paint job here, the odd
Yeah.
brick job there. And so, and our country takes advantage of that. Like, I don't like this cheap labor. Like, I think there should be like in the UK, everywhere else, there's like a minimum wage, right?
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
It's a minimum wage, right? So in South Africa, we don't have this, right? So these guys are earning like, I don't know, like $2, $10 a day, doing these paint jobs and stuff like that. So in Oranje, they've decided they don't want this. So everybody there is qualified bricklayers, qualified plumbers. So they go. There's actually a school there that teaches them all about these stuff.
That's
Anyway,
that
so
sounds
my point
brilliant.
so my point is that so I mean Ukraine has got a lot of guys have died here, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's about 500,000 soldiers that's men that's already died, and then not counting the civilians. So at some point they're going to have to replenish
Population.
this population, because I mean you need a population for economy to survive, right? And I don't want Ukraine. Ukraine is a great country. It's got so much potential here. So my suggestion on that video was, okay, so if you are a South African and you don't want to go, if you're a white South African and you're not happy with how things are going, you feel scared, you live in a jail because there's like fences everywhere and big dogs and security and all this stuff. And that's a fact. I'm just stating facts, right?
Yeah.
So if you feel unsafe in your own country, and because the police has let you down, the government has let you down, come to Ukraine and let's repopulate Ukraine. You know, like come and help repopulate Ukraine. Like bring your kids over. If you don't have a wife, there's a lot of beautiful girls here. You can find a wife here. You can start a family here, and why not? You know, we could start like we could help Ukraine by repopulating it, and also by bringing our farming. Like we've got great farmers in South Africa. Ukraine is very much a farming agriculture economy. Like
Yeah.
they export a lot of grain here. Like the Russians bombed
Yeah.
all the ships, you know, that was carrying the grain from
Wow.
Odessa to Africa. You know, like can you imagine bombing grain ships that's carrying food to countries like in Africa and the Middle East? Like I don't know. I don't think that sounds pretty good. You know what I mean? You know.
No.
So yeah. So we'll fit in well. Yeah, we farmers. We
But
hardworking people.
Ukrainians, do you feel like they're going to be open to that?
I think yes. I think yes, because unlike Poland, they're very open to foreigners. In Poland, I feel like in Poland, I'm not so welcome.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe this is just me, but I don't feel like I'm very welcome in Poland. I don't
In
think they're
Poland.
so open to foreigners in Poland.
That's
But
good to know.
in Ukraine, they love foreigners. Like they're very curious. They're open to foreigners.
No, there's a lot of African students that were studying medicine in Ukraine
Yeah,
before
there's a
the
lot.
war.
Like I don't see them much in Lviv. Like before the war, I saw more African guys, and I
Okay.
always went over and I said, "Hey, where you from?" And I always introduced myself. I said, "Hey, I'm from Joburg, South Africa," and they were happy to, you know, like meet another African. And then obviously I was always with a girl, right? Like we went for a walk and whatever. So she would be confused because you're white. He's black, but you both say you're African, so
Let the
so,
lecture begin.
so yeah, I'm like, no, I'm African, you know, like I hate introducing myself as not an African. Like
Yeah.
it's not my identity is I'm African. Like whether some South Africans agree with it or not, I'm African. I'm also South African. And so instead of these people wanting to go to Dubai and the US and Canada,
Yeah.
where there's already like infrastructure and whatever, like let's bring qualified Africans here to Ukraine and let's help them out. Let's redevelop Ukraine and
Rebuild.
do it in that way.
Well, this has been interesting. We've had a lot of serious conversations, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's have do some Q&A here. So, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and I want you to just give me like a one-word answer for this. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
Okay, what is one thing people misunderstand about Ukraine?
Corruption.
What is the biggest myth about living there?
It's dangerous everywhere.
What's the one habit a foreigner must learn fast when you're living in Ukraine?
Language,
Hmm? Gotta
even
get the.
basics. Yeah, just the basics even. Yeah, that will help.
What's the best city for peace right now in Ukraine?
You mean the safest?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be Ushgorod, the one I was visiting.
And what is one Ukrainian value you feel South Africans would respect?
Um, friendliness, like I would
Okay.
say. Yeah, they're quite friendly. Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. I think that's one thing I feel like my South African guests have said. You know, the ones in Asia, they always talk about how in South Africa you can meet someone on the street, and before you know, you're talking with a
Yeah.
total stranger for 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's normal. Yeah, it's very normal. It drives me crazy sometimes because I've I've learned to be a businessman from Americans, right? And Americans, they respect their time, right? They don't, especially
Yes.
the business, especially the serious entrepreneur guys, the Grant Cardone, extreme business guys. It's like,
I've had to
yeah, they don't.
learn that. Yeah, I've had to
Yeah,
learn that in America, and I think it frustrates me. It's kind of have caused a bit of rift with some of my friends in like Nigeria because if I tell you, "Hey, we're doing this at 2 p.m." If you're not there at 2 p.m., we have a problem
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
like, my time, I'm there, I'm sitting, waiting.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's okay. So this is another one. This is true or false, right? So all you have to say is true or false.
Okay,
Ukraine is the largest country entirely within Europe.
true,
Yes, Russia is the biggest, but has the entire Ukraine is in Europe because part of Russia is in Asia, I believe. Ukraine has the world's deepest metro station in Kiev.
false.
It's true. The Arsenian station. It's
I don't
105
know.
meters.
I heard in North Korea there's a deeper one.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah,
I'll have to look into that.
but maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's pretty deep in Kiev. It takes forever
Hmm,
to get down. It takes about five minutes, 10 minutes just to get down to the metro.
it's interesting. The national instrument of Ukraine is the bagpipes.
False.
Yes, it's the bandura. I said you would know that because you've been in the UK.
Scotland, yeah, yeah. I love the bagpipes. Like when I hear the bagpipes, my military side comes out. I met the Queen. I'll quickly tell you a story.
Really?
I met the Queen once, yeah, in Balmoral Castle. So my regiment does like a Royal Guard once. So every once a year, the Royal Guard goes up to Balmoral to assist the police with the royal family. So I did two of them in 2009. I actually danced with the Queen of Queen Elizabeth II
That's
at
interesting.
the ball. Yeah, so I had my Scottish kilt on. It was Scottish music. It wasn't bagpipe. Yeah, it was a bag. Yeah, it wasn't bagpipe music. It was like Cayley music. So Scottish Cayley music. But I
Hmm,
liked bagpipes.
So, do you think are people still migrating to Ukraine? Do you still hear about people moving to Ukraine?
So obviously, there's a lot of foreigners coming here to fight or
Okay.
volunteer. Like they bring some equipment from Europe, from wherever. So I do meet a lot of volunteers, mercenaries. So I don't particularly like this crowd because look, I'm not here for the war. I'm not participating in the war. For me, I remember Ukraine before the war, the full-scale invasion. So that's
Yeah.
my vision of Ukraine, and that's my idea of Ukraine. So these new guys that come here with their war stories, and it makes me a little bit sad hearing that Ukraine is going through this.
So, John, this is Pretty much the final part of it. I just before we let everyone go, they have to teach us two phrases in the two languages, one from their home country and one from their new country. So for you, it's going to be Afrikaans and Ukraine. So I'm all ears. I'm ready
Okay.
to learn.
So I'll start in Afrikaans. I'll
Okay.
do a basic introduction. So in Afrikaans, if I want to introduce myself, I say, my naam is John, aangename kennis. That means
Okay.
my name is John, nice to meet you.
My name's Tony. No. Say it one more time.
Aangename kennis. That's a hard one. It's hard. It's not an easy one.
Tony.
Aangename kennis.
They're gonna come for me.
Afrikaans is not an easy language as well. Like I don't think all languages is easy, to be honest. So in Ukrainian, it's Menia Zwati John, Duże Priamu.
Menia Zwati Tony, Duże Priamu.
Maybe I'm even saying it wrong, but yeah, if I say Duże Priamu, they say Zaim. That means me as well. Nice to meet you as well.
Duże Priamu. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much, John, for coming on. I think the last thing I want you to do is ask a question, something new that I'm starting, and John is going to be the first guest that is starting this. John is going to leave a question for the next guest that is going to come on for them to answer. So, John, do you have any question for the next African guest that is going to come on?
So, sure, that's a hard one. My question, does that person think he will ever return to Africa?
That is a great question. That's a great question. Okay. We'll be asking the next guest if they're ever gonna return back to Africa. It'll be interesting to see. And if they do, why? If they don't, want to hear why not.
Yeah, that's a good question, I reckon. So all right, Tony, thanks so much.
Okay. This wasn't an episode about agreeing. It was an episode about tolerance for disorder, for difference, for truth. If this conversation challenged you, good. You should drop your flag, let us know where you're watching from, and kindly subscribe. It's the only currency that I need to keep us going. Thank you so much, John, once again, for your honesty, for your truth on this podcast. I am so excited that you came. I do appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks so much, Tony.
Yeah. So, Continentals, until next time, stay real, stay connected, and keep the mic alive.